Welcome to the CLC Stage 1 Grammar Screencast. In this screencast, we're going to cover everything that we need to worry about for grammar for Chapter 1. Please note that the screencasts are to be done the night before class. Passing is at 60, bonus is at 80 or higher. So you should watch the screencast, take the notes, which I'll be grading in your binder that next day, and come up with a question or more about what we're covering. So let's start with the forecast. We're going to cover nouns. We're going to cover subject phrases, equational phrases, place phrases, and of course, a little review of the Roman numerals that you did in the pre-summer. So let's take a look at the nouns. All nouns follow families called declensions. First declension, second declension, second neuter, and then third. So first declension, you see a lot of A's there. It's a feminine declension. Second declension, mostly masculine. You see a lot of us and everything you'd expect from the Romans. Second neuter is very similar to second declension, except unlike second declension, which is masculine, second neuter is, well, neuter. And so the forms are very similar. And then finally, third declension, we'll be seeing these, are nouns that are a little different. Now, these things along the side are called cases, or how it comes down. Nominative, used for subject phrases. Accusative, object phrases. Ablative, means phrase. Accusative and ablative both can be used with prepositions. We'll talk about that. Dative, used for indirect object. And genitive, used for possessive. We'll cover a lot of these, all of these, later. The key is to memorize. And then, of course, the same cases, nominative, accusative, ablative, dative, genitive, in the plural. So how to memorize? It's 40 forms, right? 10 times 4 is 40. Well, we can simplify by looking for similarities, and that's what you use your highlighters for, chunking. If it's the same form, you don't have to really memorize two different things. You just remember that, okay, in the singular genitive, it's a long I. And then you remember, or then you also note the similarity, that the accusatives across the board in the singular end in M. Silvam, bella, hortum, bellum, consulem. And then you notice, oh, look at the ablative and the dative singular. They end in long o, horto, horto, bello, bello. Then, of course, you also notice that the singular genitive and the plural nominative for the second declension noun have a long I. So there's one chunk there. And then you also notice that the plural accusatives end in either as or os. Okay. And then you notice the ablative and dative plural are beautiful, long is. Oh, that's really easy. And then you notice that the genitive in the plural is either a long a-rum or a long o-rum. So that's nice. And then look above. Look above. Look above. Look here. Neuter, the nominative and the accusative are the same, and then they're the same in the plural, all right, and then let's look over to the third declension, not to leave it out. Nominative and accusative are the same, ace, ace, consules, consules, and the ablative and the dative plural are also the same, ibus, ibus. So, memorizing these, when you memorize it according to chunks, it's not 40 forms you have to commit to memory, because these things replicate. You have, once you take out the forms that you have banded together, you have only about 20 forms to memorize. So the key is to write it out from memory. When you have to look back at the book, that's not from memory, and say it. So you're saying it, you're seeing it. Now, what is the noun declension important for? It tells you, first of all, part of speech. So Cerberus or Kerberos ends in us. That's a second declension noun. Canis, well, that's a third declension noun because it doesn't fit with the other ones. There's no short is. Third declension is kind of like whenever you don't know something, you just put it in third. How about this one? Caecilius. The us tells you he's a second declension noun. How about tablino? Tablino is second declension as well. In this case, it's tablinum, neuter. All right, so let's play with it. So you know the declensions. Caecilius. What declension is caecilius? Is it first, second, or second neuter? Well, it doesn't end in A, so it's not first. And caecilios, US ending, tells you don't see that in the bellum pattern, so he's really second declension. Now, what's the case? What's the purpose of these cases? These cases will signify phrases or how something's used. For example, in the story, we see Metella sedet. Metella sits. Who's doing the sitting? Metella. Why? Because she's nominative. Servus laborat. Oh, the US ending is nominative. So that's a subject phrase. The slave works. Quoquus dormit. The cook sleeps. That's a subject phrase because it ends in US. That tells you the nominative is the subject phrase. So here we see Metella, nominative plus no other signals, subject, Metella. That's how you translate it. Now, sedet over here, don't worry about this. Just write it down. 3SPIV, AV, SPAV, sits. Just got to write that down because you'll find out about it in about a month. So let's talk about the equational phrase. When you have a nominative, it can be the subject phrase, right? Caecilius est pater. Caecilius is a father. Caecilius est a son. Caecilius is a son, right? Filius. And Cerberus est canis. It's also nominative. Cerberus is a dog. So when you have this sum verb, this equal verb, it's just like an equal sign, you could be dealing with a nominative equational phrase. Just like an equal sign in math, what's on one side of the equal sign has to be the same as the other side. So Clemens is a servus. So this would be, we already have a subject phrase. You can only have one subject phrase, unless you have a conjunction. We haven't covered that yet. So Caecilius, nominative, no other signal, subject phrase, is, with a verb of being, it's nominative plus equal sign, equational phrase, a son. So therefore, whatever you deal, so we have here, start with the verb. At this stage, all verbs end in T. All verbs end in T. Is, who is? Caecilius, nominative plus no other signals, that means just nominative by itself, subject phrase. Pater is also nominative, it's third declension, but it is an equational phrase because of that be verb, right? Caecilius is a father. All right, let's play with it. Caecilius est in tablino. So what kind of phrase is that? It's nominative, so it's a subject phrase. We haven't covered place phrases yet, so it can't be that. It's either equational or subject phrase. Well, it's got is, that could be equational, but wait a second. You need a subject for your actions. All verbs have to have a subject phrase. We don't have another one there. There's not another nominative, so it's clearly a subject phrase. All right, let's talk about place phrases. Playing with the ablative. Prepositions, little teeny tiny words that you put beforehand, can use to signify prepositional phrases. But the prepositions in Latin only go with certain cases. So therefore, in, at this stage, takes the ablative, and that signifies a place phrase. Just like English, except English doesn't really have the explicit cases used. So Metella is in the atrium. All right? And therefore, when we mark it out, est, third person singular, PIAV, simple present active actual, is. Who is? Well, we have in plus ablative place phrase in the study, and then we also have Caecilius, nominative plus no other signals, subject phrase. So subject phrases and place phrases. So we start with what? The verb. What's the verb? Est, is. Who is? Always go to the subject phrase first. Not after you find the verb. Nominative plus no other signals, subject phrase. Caecilius is where? In tablino, in plus ablative. Ablative case, place phrase. Roman numerals, reviewing those. The Roman numerals, the first one is unus, that's one, versus primus, that's first. I am number one, I am first. Duo, two, with secundus, second. Tres, tertius. So one is the cardinal, right? That one is the ordinal. What order? Third. Quator, just like Spanish, cuatro. And quartus. That's what a quarter is. You get four of those in $1. Quinque versus quintus. Sex, sextus, six, sixth. Septem, septimus, seven. Octo, octavus, eight. Noem